What's up, Titans fans? It's your boy CD back again with another episode of Tighten Up Today. Today, we begin week 6 officially. Week 5 is done. Week 6 is here. We're hyped. Division rival. I like to be a little bit more hyped up, but the Texans aren't doing their part as they're only 1-4 in this matchup. But this week, we'll be ready. Buffalo Bills done. Definitely ready for the Texans. COVID, so far, so good. We got Jeffrey Simmons already back. Look like we're back on track to do some big things for this week. I'm hyped up. Thursday night football. No, the NFL giveth and they taketh away. They give us Tuesday night football last week and they say no Thursday night football this week. They give us an extra Monday night football game. I'm not going to bore you with these details. We'll jump in head first. Today's show, we're going to give you the preview of the Houston Texans, who are 1-4, against the undefeated Tennessee Titans. They're playing at Nissan Stadium this week. But no need to delay. Let's get down to it. All right, so week 6, Titans, Texans, division rivalry. Definitely the game that we're looking forward to. We cannot have a hangover. A lot of teams do it. They go in, have a big victory, and then go in and think they were on top of the world and take a loss to a team they should not lose to. So now I'm going to tell you a trap game this could be for a couple reasons. One, we just come off this huge high. Buffalo Bills, we completely stomped them, just a slacking right across the face. Actually, look at the stiff arm. Yeah, exactly. So we did that to them just a couple days ago. Here we are again. It's time to take on a good team. So if we sit on this Buffalo Bills game and we just ride this high, we only have 5 days to prepare for a very, very good Texans team. We could be in a really, really situation or really bad situation that we don't want to be in. That's one way. The second way is you look at the Texans' record. It's 1-4, right? It must not be that good. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-4. They're not that good, so they got to be just as good as them or just as bad as them. The problem is their schedule totally different. Again, losses to the Ravens, Chiefs, Steelers, right? To get 3 of those 4 losses. They won 1 game against the Jaguars, which is big for them. Now coming into us, they fired their head coach. And I will say, there's a riddle for you, right? How do you get fired as a Houston Texans coach? You lose 4 games in a row. That's one thing. You also have the highest payroll, as I told you guys before. That's the next thing. And you can't find a way to budget your funds to sign the number 1 wide receiver. You can debate it. I said the number 1 wide receiver in the league, and D-Hop, he's gone. So now you have what you have, but obviously you have a fired coach. They got a new coach now, Romeo Crennel, as an interim. Very defensive mind. He's been around there for a long time. I think he's 70+ years old, so definitely old school mentality. But they beat the Jags. They did what they were supposed to do last week, and I think that they want to stay on a roll. They're getting some steam, trying to go into this division matchup specifically, and try to go into the AFC South and make some noise. They're only a few games behind us. I know we seem like we're way far ahead, but we're really not. We have to play them 2 times, obviously, this week. If they beat us 2 times, just like that, they're only a game behind us. So we have to make sure that we're on it and do not fall for the trap. Don't give us the trap game. We don't want the trap game. Braves, keep the boys up, and we'll be fine. We'll be just fine. So like I said earlier in the intro, we got Jeffrey Simmons back today. He's off the COVID list. That's one of a lot of guys that we'd like to get right back. Another guy, Kamale Correa, as you guys heard, asked for a trade. He's going to be moving here shortly. I think that we have so much depth at outside linebacker. It just hurts to see him go. And he was part of that depth, but we'll be okay. I think we have just enough depth and we'll be just fine on the defensive side of the ball as well. So let's jump straight in. Let's break down this matchup between us and the Texans, and we'll start with the total team offense for us, the Tennessee Titans. How do we look? So after last week, it looks like our offense exploded, put up a ton of points. What we did forget to mention is that the defense did a lot of damage to put us in good spots. Ryan Tannehill didn't even throw for 200 yards. That says a lot. We put up a lot of points, but not so many yards. So Our offense right now, as we match up against the Texans, we're putting up 30.5 points per game, which is 6th in the league. 377.3 yards of total offense every single game so far. We've run 272 plays. Again, we didn't have a game that a lot of other teams have. The buys are starting to flow now. This week, I believe the Packers are on a bye, and like Detroit was on a bye last week along with the Packers. So some of these statistics start to catch up. But 272 plays thus far has us towards the bottom. 97 first downs, same concept. And +8 turnover diff is first in the league. We are not turning the ball over. And on top of that, we are turning other teams over and getting the ball and then putting points on the board. Points on the board off those turnovers are huge. +8 turnover diff, number 1 in the league. Number 2 in giveaways with only 1 giveaway on the league. Surprisingly, the Packers have not given the ball away one time all season. Again, just coming off a bye, so hopefully they'll give away a ball this week. Anyways, 46.0 third down conversion rate is somewhere in the middle, and 13th. We're 3 for 3 converting on 4th down. Perfect thus far. Again, that touchdown, that close to being 2 for 3, but 3 for 3, perfect at this point in time. 158 penalty yards has us in the top 5 at 4th. So again, looking disciplined from that side of the ball on the offensive side. Now, the defense that we have to go up against is Houston Texans defense. Right now, 28 points per game is what they're giving up, 387.4 yards per game as well. They have 122 first downs, but they have played in all the weeks. They are only 27th, they're tied for 27th in the league at this point. On 45.2% of third down tries, whenever defending on 4th down, the Houston Texans are letting their opposition convert 7 out of 9. That's 77.8% of 4th downs they are getting converted against, and that's tied for 24th right now in the league. That's pretty bad. 111 penalty yards thus far. That's first. Very disciplined team. -5 turnover diff is not good. It puts them in the bottom of the league, tied for 28th. They have 2 takeaways all season long. That is last place in the league. Last place at this point in time. So there's a good opportunity right now for us to play discipline. That turnover differential is there. They're having issues taking the ball away. We're doing very well keeping the ball. Let's keep it just like that. Now, breaking down our offense versus their defense, the first thing that jumps off the paper is the turnovers. Obviously, our +8 turnover differential has us in the top of the league. We're not giving the ball away. Not only are we taking the ball, we're not giving the ball away to teams. That said, the Texans aren't taking the ball away either. So it's like this perfect mix for us. As long as we play the way we have played, don't give the ball to them, they're showing that they're not going to take it away from us, so we should be just fine. The next thing that I see in the statistics that jump off the table for me is the rush defense. Our rush offense right now, we have 136 rush attempts, which is 13th in the league. We're averaging 131.5 yards per game, which is 9th, with 5 touchdowns on the ground. That ties us for 15th in the league, somewhere in the middle of the road. And still that one lonely explosive rush that we've had. We actually just had that. That was Ryan Tannehill's 23-yard run last week, or I guess technically it was a couple days ago, but last week, week 5's matchup against the Bills. So we're still last at this point in time. Now, the Houston rush defense, they're giving up 160.4 yards per game. That's 31st in the league, only 1 away from being last. 4.7 yards per carry, that ties them for 22nd in the league. And so far, the most rush attempts against this defense at 169. They've given up 6 touchdowns, which is tied for 21st, and 6 explosive plays, which is again 31st, only 1 spot away from being the worst in the league. This is the perfect game for us now to jump out there and get some explosive runs. This team is giving them out like candy. Halloween is coming up. It's time to trick and treat Derrick Henry to a great game. We're going to have to run this ball. They have a difficult time, obviously, stopping it. So Derrick Henry, his statistics are funky looking. He scores 2 touchdowns and averages 3 yards per carry, which is the worst of the season last week against the Bills. Right now, his total season stats look like this. He has 101 carries, which is 3rd in the league, 376 yards, total yards on the ground, 3.7 yard average. Again, we need to get above 4 yards a carry. any average running back in the league has to be up there about 4 yards. And if we want to be great, which we know that King Henry is the best running back in the league, his statistics have to show and reflect that. And right now, we're looking for 5 yards a carry, and we're only seeing 3.7. So that front line needs to get it together, move some holes, and I think this makes some holes, move some bodies. I think this is the game that Derrick Henry has some big runs. So far, again, he has 4 touchdowns on the season. That ties him for 6th. 2 big touchdowns this last week, which doubled his total to put him in the top 6 at this point. Still 0 explosive runs, but I think that changes this week against a Texans team that has a difficulty stopping the run. Now, they do have a guy which completely baffles me. He leads the league in tackles. Zach Cunningham, number 41, has right now the number 1 amount of tackles, both solo and total tackles at this point. He has 53 total tackles, 38 solo tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for a loss. The man is all over the field, and yet somehow they can't stop the run. I'm thinking that we need to focus on Mr. Cunningham, put a hat on him, and for whatever reason, the rest of the defense should just crumble, I guess, and just not be there. Obviously, you have J.J. Watt, who is going to be a problem for us, but as long as we put a hat on him, along with Cunningham, I think that we should make some room for Derrick Henry to do some damage, man. We're looking for one of those big 150, 200-yard games, looking for that 50-yard breakout run at the end of the game. This has got to be it. Pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball has to be the game plan, and we can take over this game early and often for sure. So, on the other hand, what if we want to pass the ball? Well, we do have a good pass offense. Right now, our total pass offense, we have 132 attempts, which is towards the bottom. Again, we've only played 4 games, but 245.8 yards per game puts us somewhere in the middle of the field. We're towards the bottom right now with only 10 explosive plays through the air. Where is Khalif Raymond? We're ready for you. Right now, we're tied for 27th, again, towards the bottom, but only 4 sacks allowed, which is 2nd in the league thus far. Now, the Houston Texans pass defense, unlike their rush defense, which seems to be very soggy and unable to stop anyone, their pass defense is a little bit hot and cold. Right now, they're only giving up 227 yards per game, which is top 10, 68.7% of passes are completed on them, which is towards the bottom. 7.4 yards per attempt has them tied for 13th. They're giving up 9 touchdowns, which is, again, in the middle of the pack. 0 interceptions on the year. They're dead last. They have not caught a ball in the secondary. This is definitely a problem for them. They're also giving up 108.8 quarterback rating to the opposition, which is 30th. They do have 14 sacks, which puts them tied for 7th. And they're only giving up 13 explosive plays, which ties them for 5th in the league. Now, after breaking down the Texans defense, it looks like they can't really stop the run. That kind of treats us right. It's where we want to go. Give the ball to Derrick Henry 40 times, run it down their throat. They can't tackle him. We'll be just fine. But I would say just take a second and peek at that passing defense as well. Although the numbers are low, they only give up 227 yards per game. That's great, but they're not being aggressive. No turnovers at all. How do you have 14 sacks? That means you're pressuring the quarterback, which is great, but nothing is happening on the background. On the backside. That back 4 is not that great. Justin Reed is a great safety, but the guys on the edge, there's nothing there at all. I think our passing offense has a great opportunity to do some great things. Ryan Tannehill has been efficient all season long, and I think that might be the tool that we can go with. Keep it balanced. Run the ball with Derrick Henry. Hopefully get the 5 yards or better per carry this week. And then play action pass with Ryan Tannehill, and we can do some serious damage. Ryan Tannehill, I hate to use the term MVP. As a homer, Tennessee Titan fan, just like you, I think that he's doing very well. Not yet in the MVP talk. Not yet. We got to keep that down. But his stat line looks good so far. Right now, he's top 5 in quarterback rating with 110.8 QB rating. Can't ask for much more than that. Keep up the good work and staying efficient, and don't turn the ball over. We do great things. 68.9 completion percentage, 1,004 yards so far, 7.6 yards per attempt. We can stretch that out. I like to see 8, 8.5, maybe even 9, and get those explosive plays up and get those numbers back up like they were last year. And that offense, along with the rush, will be right where we want to go. But 9 touchdowns has him tied for 9th in the league. 1 interception. No mistakes. Only one slight mistake that we made a couple weeks back, but we got through it with this Buffalo game. Let's do it again with the Texans. Do not give them their first interception. Stick to where we're at. 0 interceptions this week and beyond. Now, who's the number 1 wide receiver? It used to be Corey Davis. Now, it's our tight end. Our tight end is our number 1 wide receiver. Jonnu Smith, number 81, currently has 18 receptions, 221 yards receiving. That's 12.3 yards per catch. 5 touchdowns, has him tied for third. That's among wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. Anybody who could catch the ball. 5 touchdowns. He's doing big things, definitely heading towards an all-pro type season so far. Let's keep up the good work. 3 explosive plays at this point in time. And our number 2 wide receiver, our number 2 wide receiver or receiving threat would be Corey Davis. Corey Davis, our number 1 wide receiver, but our number 2 receiving threat. 15 receptions, 206, 13.7 yards per catch, 1 touchdown, 3 explosive plays. You know why that looks very familiar? It's the same as what I told you last week. He didn't play. The stats, the numbers don't move. He didn't play at all. So A.J. Brown came in. He did some great work. Obviously had a great game, as I told you guys about just a couple days ago. So keep up what we're supposed to be doing on the offensive side through the air. What they're going to be trying to do to stop us. Well, Whitney Merciless. Everybody knows this guy. Whitney Merciless so far is having a decent season, I would say. He's got 3 sacks, 13 tackles, 8 solo tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He's still good. J.J. Watt is still good. This front 7 that they got, these guys are going to pack and bring to us are still good. They're a little bit older, but they are still good if you can't get that together. Now, their back end is definitely their problem to stop the pass. It's going to be really hard for them to stop our weapons, especially if we can get Corey Davis healthy and Adam Humphries healthy. We'll be able to do some big things in the pass game. Now, who's their back safety? I mean, we know Justin Reed is doing big things. Who's their cornerback? Well, we know who the cornerback is for the Bills. Let me show you again. Yeah, it never gets old. Anyways, this week we'll go up against Vernon Hargreaves. He's the best thing that they could put out there. The Bucks cut him a few years back. This is what they got. This is why they're not able to stop the pass at this point in time. This is why they have 0 interceptions thus far. But Vernon Hargreaves, to date, 19 tackles, 16 of those solo. He does have 4 pass deflections over the 5 games that he's played. No interception, 0. And we will not give him an interception this week. Trust me on that. Now, how about the Houston Texans offense? They get to put some people out there and score some points too, right? So let's go ahead and look at that. Houston Texans, 22 points per game, ties up for 24th, 359.2 yards. Total offense is 22nd in the league. 282 plays run, 26. There's a lot of 20s if you can notice here. 96 first downs, and their -5 turnover diff is tied for 28th in the league. They've only had 7 giveaways, which put them in the middle of the field. 37.7 on 3rd down. 3 out of 5 on 4th down, which is tied for 17th, and 148 penalty yards. That's great. Slow clap for them. Anyways, they're a disciplined team on offense as well as defense. I told you guys before, but they'll have to go up against our defense. The Tennessee Titans defense is only giving up 22.5 points per game. That's 9th in the league. Top 10 again in scoring. 409.3 yards per game is a lot still. That number went down just a little bit after last week, but we're still 29th in the league. 94 first downs given up, has a 7th, but it's somewhat of a lie because, again, we didn't play week 4. Now, I will say, as great as our defense has looked over the last couple weeks, our big issue is our 3rd down conversions. We cannot get off the field. Right now, 60% of attempts are converted against our defense. That has us dead last. Even last week against the Buffalo Bills, our defense played phenomenal, and we still let them have more than 75% conversion rate on 3rd down. On 4th down, though, 1 for 3. We're tied for 4th. Okay, that's good. We're being disciplined. 192 penalty yards. That's 6th in the league. And again, I repeat, +8 turnover differential, 1st in the league. And we have 9 takeaways. That's tied for 4th in the league. Now, the takeaways are great. It's helping us win so far this season. Once we get the ball in our hands, we're converting those and putting them into points and winning games. What happens whenever we play a team that doesn't want to give us the ball? I have no idea, but I do know this. If we're letting them convert 60+% of the time on third down, we are in a big, big, big issue. And I don't know if we can win any games moving forward if we're allowing that. So come off of that. Let's get to the Houston Texans offense. The passing game and the rushing game, it's been all over the place. They had a guy, I think I told you guys about this a little bit earlier, D-Hop. They let him go. Who they bring in? Well, they brought in David Johnson. And David Johnson was brought into Houston to boost up this rushing attack. This is what the numbers look like. 102 attempts, 30th in the league. 84.6 yards per game, 30th in the league. Only 3 touchdowns, tied for 24th, and only 1 explosive play, which ties them with us, which is last in the league. This offense is not doing anything on the ground, and now it's our job to stop them. Tennessee Titans defense against the run, 148.3 yards per carry, which is towards the bottom, almost at the bottom of the pack. 5.5 yards per carry, dead last. We've only had to go up against 108 attempts. We've given up 3 touchdowns, which is tied for 4th. That's good. 5 explosive plays, which is, again, towards the bottom, tied for 23rd. This is a problem. This could be a problem. Just as well as Houston Texans have an issue stopping the run, we have an issue of our own stopping the run. The Houston Texans are having problems running the ball. We've been having problems being efficient running the ball. This is probably something that they're looking at as well to say, hey, look, how about we just hand the ball off to this guy, David Johnson, and let him run the ball for 20, 25, 30 times, whatever, and see if they can stop him. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that at all. And what I really am looking forward to is that we get Jeffrey Simmons, put him in the middle of the field, middle of the line, and stop the run, hopefully. But if they come out just pounding the ball away, they might do well. Based off of the statistics, they could do well, but I have hope. David Johnson so far has 68 carries, 293 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, 1 explosive play. Just that 1 explosive play. That 4.3 yards per carry is healthy. Again, it's above average in the league. But I think that we can stop it. We have to find a way to stop this guy. Stop these guys from running the ball, or stop anybody from running the ball and do well on the ground game. So who do we have? Who do we bring to the party to stop them? A guy who's been really quiet all season long, and I'm waiting for him to kind of do something big, strip, get a fumble recovery, an interception, something. Jayon Brown. He's our tackling guy from a linebacker position. 25 tackles, 14 of those are solos. 0 sacks, 2 are tackles for loss. Rashaan Evans is our other guy. Obviously didn't play a week, or he played or started a week, but then got ejected early in the Broncos game, so he didn't get a chance to play a whole game and put up his statistical output as he normally would. But at this point in time, he's catching Jayon Brown with 24 tackles, 17 solos, which is more than Jayon. No sacks, no tackles for a loss. These guys need to fill up. These middle linebackers need to do their job in the middle and not allow these guys, anybody, definitely David Johnson this week, to do anything on the ground. Let's just keep it together, fill the gaps, and do big damage. We did well against Devin Singletary, but I think that the Buffalo Bills were just shocked, to be fair. They couldn't run the ball the way they wanted to. They really didn't try to run the ball, and then all they tried to do was sling the ball around, which, of course, Malcolm Butler was there to let them know that he was available for all interceptions that they wanted to throw, and he did just that for 2 of them. So Houston's pass game, what are they going to do? Deshaun Hopkins and that Houston pass offense currently has 163 attempts. That's 21st in the league. They're putting up 274.6 yards per game. That's 9th in the league. They have 23 explosive plays. That's tied for 2nd in the league. 17 sacks allowed is towards the bottom. So that offensive line is definitely having some issues protecting Deshaun Watson. Our defense, when it comes down to the pass, 261.0 yards per game. Again, towards the bottom, 64.2% of pass attempts are completed. That puts us in the top 11 in the league. 7.2 yards per attempt, top 10, 9 touchdowns, puts in the middle of the field. 6 interceptions on the season, is tied for 3rd in the league. And again, we have not played but 4 games. What happens if we would have played an extra game? We probably get another 1 or 2 interceptions, and we're 1st in the league in picks. And where you at, Kevin Byard? Anyways, 89.0 quarterback rating, is 7th in the league with only 5 sacks, is tied for 29th and towards the bottom. I like to see all this money that we put in these outside linebackers and edge rushers come to fruition and do some big things. Right now, we've only given up 10 explosive plays, which is first in the league. Now, this is important. I'm speaking slowly on these 10 explosive plays because we just played a Buffalo Bills team who had all these explosive wide receivers that led the league in explosive plays. We held them to 0. Now we're going up against a Houston Texans team who is in the top 5 in explosive plays with Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, all this speed on the outside. We need to hold them to 0 again. Malcolm Butler plays smart. The safeties in the back don't give up anything deep. Play very smart like we have. I think that we'll be just fine. So what does Deshaun Watson's statistics look like so far coming into week 6? He's 100.5 quarterback rating, 66.9 completion percentage. He's thrown for 1,451 yards, which is 7th in the league. It's a ton of yardage throwing. I don't know if that's so much that he's just this great quarterback throwing for a ton of yardage, or that they're down by halftime and he's throwing the ball, a million times a game. 8.9 yards per attempt is a lot. That ties him for 2nd in the league. He has 9 touchdowns so far. It's top 10, but 5 interceptions, averaging 1 interception every single game that he started so far. So who's he going to throw the ball to? Well, his number 1 wide receiver is D-Hop. No. D-Hop, where's he at? Not in Texas. He's over in Arizona in the desert somewhere. Horrible trade. Anyways, Will Fuller, the 5th, number 15 in your program, 22 receptions, 332 yards receiving, 15.1 yards per reception, 3 touchdowns, and 4 of those massive 20-something explosive plays that they have so far in the air. He has those. The other guy, the new guy, Brandon Cooks, the number 2 wide receiver over there, 18 receptions. I'll say again, 18 receptions, 299 yards, 16.6 average, 1 touchdown, and 8 explosive plays. That's tied him for 3rd in the league in explosive plays. Now go back. 18 receptions, 8 explosive plays. Are you kidding me? Can anybody just stop him and not let him to run past him? He had a game. He had a whole ball last week against the Jags. A little bit of a coming out party. Welcome to Houston for him. But that stops this week. We don't allow that. No explosive plays, and we'll be just fine. But continuing on, how do we get to the quarterback? We got to get to him. Harold Landry had another good game, finished with a sack last week. We got to use these outside linebackers. We got Jadeveon Clowney. All these guys, get to Deshaun. Contain. Don't let him get loose, and we do just fine. But Harold Landry having the ball so far this season, 17 tackles, 12 solos, 1 sack just last week, 2 tackles for a loss, and don't forget that interception in week 2 that he did to seal the game against the Jags. Big game for us, big game. So that's the front side. Obviously, the outside linebackers have been very quiet for us. Vic Beasley, the free agent that we brought in, has been quiet. Jadeveon Clowney, quiet. Who was not quiet? Malcolm Butler. Coming out party again against the Buffalo Bills. Stat line for the season, 25 tackles, 22 of those were solos, no sacks yet, 1 tackle for a loss, and 2 interceptions against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, the MVP hopeful and blah, blah, blah. Malcolm Butler, the Super Bowl hero, shows flashes of excellence from time to time. He does make some mistakes and let some guys get by him, but I haven't seen that in at least a year. Does well so far this season, and he'll do it again this week as we got a lot of speedsters that we cannot let get past us. Give up the little stuff inside, but Malcolm Butler, I like what you're doing so far. So good. Now, the last, special teams. Okay. I can tell you this. Obviously, we know Brett Kern is the man. We got that. It's hard to miss field goals if you don't kick them. Extra points last week, 6 for 6, 0 field goal attempts are great. Overall, though, Tennessee Titans special teams was still stuck at 75% when it comes down to field goals because we didn't take any again last week, but we're tied for 24th, and we're still slowly trying to climb out of that hole that we started at 25% after week 1. So we have 44.8 net average, which is, again, top 10 with Brett Kern. 9 of his punts have been inside the 20. That puts him 6th in the league. 17.3 yards per kickoff return is still 30th, and it's miserable to say. We did have a little bit of a push from last week. Last week we were 17.2 yards, and this week we're 17.3. So at this pace, we might hit 18 yards per kickoff return sometime by the playoffs. But our punt return average did take a spike, as it's now up to 8 yards of return. That's after Khalif Raymond takes back a 40-yard punt return midway through the game last week against the Buffalo Bills. But we're still in the middle of the pack now at 17th. The Houston Texans, their special teams, they're doing well. Field goal kicking, 9 for 10, 90% on the season. That puts them in the middle of the pack somewhat, close to the top 10. Punting the ball, 44.1 is their net average. Again, middle of the pack. 6 punts inside the 20. 21.2 yards on the kickoff return average is 19th in the league. And 8.6 yards, which is better than us on the punt returns. That ties up for 13th in the league. All right, so now you're having a complete overview of what Texas brings to the table statistically, along with the Titans statistically. I think this game comes down to turnovers. I know it's a big number, and everybody knows statistically, whoever has the most turnovers tends to have the hardest time winning. I think that's definitely the angle for us. We have to keep that ball, be safe. We haven't had a fumble, knock on wood. We haven't had a fumble all season that we've lost. We've only thrown one interception, and let's keep the ball safe. Now, on the defense, be opportunistic, be aggressive, but make sure that you wrap up Deshaun Watson whenever he's out there trying to scramble. Don't be afraid to give up a 10-yard scramble run as opposed to a 60-yard pass over your head. They have some speedsters on the outside with Will Fuller along with Brandon Cooks. We have to play discipline. Don't bite on double moves, triple moves, deep passes to these guys. You have to keep discipline on the back end. Our safeties have to be quiet and chill. Deshaun Watson, although he's really good, a great quarterback, and I know how much my sister loves him, although he's a great quarterback, I will tell you this, he is impatient. And if we make him keep taking nibbles, and then our offense keeps putting points up, eventually he's going to throw a ball deep down the field that he shouldn't throw, and Kevin Byard can now register that first interception that he hasn't had all this season. I think this is the game that lines up for us. We run the ball, it lines right into what we want to do, right into our wheelhouse. Run the ball, they have an issue stopping the run. Run it, play action. Maybe we can get a couple explosive plays here, whatever, make some noise would be great. We definitely need to get healthy and make sure everybody's out there for this game. Nonetheless, this is what it looks like for week 6. It's going to be a great game. I think all in all, it'll be a great game. It's a division rivalry. Anything can happen between these two as we lock horns to go right at it to see who's the best in the AFC South. Right now, they're trying to get in and get to the top, and we're just trying to hold everybody off as we continue to stay at the top of the AFC South as well as the AFC as a whole. Now, that concludes today's preview of the Week 6 matchup between us and the Houston Texans. I appreciate you guys again stopping by, watching the show. Another episode will be coming up. Give it to you on Saturday whenever we go through and break down all these games. And I'll give you the game predictions as well as the crew. I think there's been some movement. Last week was a crazy week. Teams that lost that shouldn't have lost. I mean, I picked them and they lost, so obviously they shouldn't have lost. But I appreciate you guys stopping by. Can't wait to see you again. If you like this episode or any other episode in the past, click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Take a moment, subscribe. Click that notifications bell. Get notified next time I put up another episode. And again, I appreciate you guys. But before you leave, I got to stiff arm you one more time, man. It's too crazy. Stiff arm is coming, but I got a question for you. Why tighten up tomorrow when you could tighten up today? Stiff arm.